All right, let's call to order the Flood Control District meeting for the Cochise County Board of Supervisors. We're meeting in here, the hearing room in Melody Lane. Pursuant to ARS 38-431.02H, the public will have access to the meeting room 15 minutes prior to the start of the meeting. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion and possible action. Members of the board may attend in person or via Microsoft Teams. The board may vote to recess into executive session for the purposes of obtaining legal advice from the board's attorney on any matter listed on the agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A and subparagraph 3. Members of the public may also attend the meeting via Microsoft Teams or the mobile app. The board may permit public comment during the discussion of any item on this agenda. To speak on an agenda item, complete and return the speaker request form to the clerk of the board prior to 9 a.m. on the day of the meeting. We'll begin with a roll call. District 1.
Crosby's here.
District 2.
Gomez is here.
District 3. Antonori is here. All supervisors are present and in person. Can I get a motion to move consent agenda items 1 and 2, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve consent agenda items 1 and 2.
Second.
All right. Motion before the board is to approve the consent agenda items number 1 and 2. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. The consent agenda is approved. All right. Now, we will now open a public hearing and go to Ms. Gilman for an explanation.
Thank you, Chairman Antonori. Supervisors, today we present the Flood Control District budget, final budget. This is, there are no changes, I should say, from the tentative budget that was passed back in June. And the second item on the agenda is for the Flood Control District to have their TNT as well, because tax rate did not increase, but the overall levy did due to assessed values.
Discussion? All right. Any public comment? All right. Hearing none. All right. Now we will close the public hearing and we will go back to the agenda item. So we will go to agenda item number 3. Can I get a motion, please, to approve agenda item number 3? Go ahead.
I move to adopt the final budget of the Flood Control District for fiscal year 2025-2026 in the amount of $9,948,000.
19.
19?
19.
No, it's 9.
Why does mine say 19?
You're looking at the jail district, sir?
Are you looking at the flood or Joe?
That says 19.
Is it the flood or?
It's a typo. Yeah.
Is it jail?
This says none. Sorry. Am I looking at the wrong one?
That's jail district.
Oh, that's the jail district. All right. Now, I'm sorry.
Okay. So
So I apologize. I'm glad. Double check. All right. Thank you. Please continue,
Okay.
Madam.
I move to adopt the final budget of the Flood Control District for fiscal year 2025-2026 in the amount of $9,948,414.
Second, and I have a secondary motion amendment.
Oh, okay. All right. So the motion for the board, we have an amendment proposed. So go ahead and propose your amendment.
I propose that we decrease the budget to $7,325,000
For,
the Flood Control District.
is that commensurate with what?
That would be commensurate. Well, we're not doing the rate today, but if we were doing the rate today, that is approximately what their cash carry forward is currently. Isn't that correct? In other words, well, we're just not going to set the rate today. We're not even going to poll about setting the rate. Not even going to do that. But if we were to make the rate 0, their cash carry forward would remain 7.3 million instead of 9.9, almost 10 million.
So the revenue generated, let me go to Stacy's. So the revenue generated from this tax is about $2.5 million a year. You're projecting 2.7 this year with the assessed
Values.
with the assessment
Stacey, can
going.
you speak up a little bit? Speak up just a little bit.
Okay, sorry. Say again?
Yeah, no, so the assessment ratio, or I'm sorry, the assessed value increase is resulting in roughly a 150K increase in revenue projected for 26, right?
Correct.
That's the reason we have to do the truth in taxation.
Correct.
So in addition to that, there's a cash carry forward of 7 million. So Mr. Crosby's amendment would essentially wipe out the 2.7 million in revenue proposed
2.6.
to,
It's on the big board. Levy.
2.623414.
yeah, there we go. 2.623414.
Chairman Crosby, correct me if I'm wrong, but you are proposing to zero out the levy for FY26.
Well, doing the, that's what would happen if you multiplied it times 0. Yeah. That's true. Very true.
I just have, why is mine showing? Gremlin.
It's on the big board, man.
What is that? And why doesn't it match that?
So could you bring up the other chart? Yeah, that one. So that's what he's looking at. Under tax. He's looking at the taxes line where it says.
That also has delinquency in it. So the delinquency is not part of levies. That's prior year stuff. So the current levy is at the 2.6 rate. The additional amount you see in the taxes budget is budget planning for delinquent taxes.
How much is the property tax assessment for the flood district going to generate in FY26?
That would be, let me go back over here really quick the levy itself is 2.623 million. And that would be just for the FY26 year based on the assessed values.
All right, so what Mr. Crosby is proposing is to eliminate that from the budget and only maintain the 7 million that's the cash carried forward, which is the current balance in flood control district.
Correct.
Just so we're clear. So when we go to approve the rate, we would then, prove the rate as 0 at the time. All right.
How does this impact flood district areas like, say, the port of entry, right? That's in a floodplain. So I'm
They-
not
they
sure I
still have-
understand.
They still have $7.3 million to work with this year.
So,
Down from almost 10 million down to 7.3.
so for federal flood insurance purposes, we're required to have a flood control district, correct?
Correct.
All right. So in order to have a flood control district, you have to have some revenue. If you have 0, there's a potential that someone could say we do not have a flood control district. Is that correct?
No, because the budget line's still in the budget. It's in all the accounting paperwork. You're still going to have a flood control.
But if we're not collecting a tax for a flood control district, then
I didn't say.
it sounds like a legal question.
I didn't say that I wanted to get rid of the flood control district, and as you noted, it still has 7.3 million. And so my point is to make the flood control district study more cheaply and do cheaper projects. And if you look back at the amount of money that's gone to Fuller Hydrology, and I don't know who all else it's got to be,
Yeah.
what would you say in the multi-millions?
A few millions.
A few million. So I
So,
think we need to have cheaper studies and cheaper projects.
so my suggestion would be for us to better scrutinize those projects and those studies, because I myself have a lot of issues with flooding in my district, and I've got quite a few people that are asking for help dealing with that flooding. I don't know about,
Well, after I talked about Bay Acres, we had all those big rains, like 4 days, and it got flooded. And I know there's still an issue with the port of entry. There's an issue with, the new Raul Castro entry. And so,
and we would like to start using flood control district funds in areas where some of our roads are getting flooded in conjunction with road construction funds to better improve the road and reduce flooding of certain roads. So there's a way to leverage both the flood control district funding and the facilities or slash the road.
Mr. Chairman and Ms.
Yeah.
Gomez, I'm not going to take it personally if I get out.
No,
Let
I
me say this. I would say that I had the privilege to speak to one of our community groups, and I asked everybody who wants a tax increase, and the answer was resoundingly nobody.
Yeah,
Then
but you're
let's-
talking to Sierra Vista. I'm talking about an area east of the Mule Mountains from north to south that have pretty much received no real, I mean, there's studies, yes, I agree with you, the studies are expensive, but there has been no real effort to control, I think, the way it's been in Sierra Vista and in that area or the Sprinkle, whatever. It has not been the same on this side. And so, you're looking at Douglas, one of the second poorest areas in the state, and we have a lot of flooding, serious flooding, especially I saw it this past week when we had 3 big rainfalls. So I'm like you. I think some of these studies are just ridiculously expensive. We could probably do much cheaper, quicker, where it doesn't go on forever and ever. But I just don't know enough and have dived deep enough to be able to say that, yeah, we don't need this levy. Do we have to do it at this rate? Is it something we could do if we?
So
Supervisors, if I may, just
sure.
quick point of order or point of information, if I may. The Supervisor Crosby made a motion, I believe.
And
There has not been a second, but you're having discussion. So I don't know if you want to handle that differently. Just pointing it out.
Well, I'll second the motion. I'll second it. So we have a motion now, and I will second it. Okay. So now we'll have the discussion. Okay. So back to Ms. Gomez. So you're recommending that maybe we just consider lowering the rate so we don't have to do the truth and taxation hearing and the tax basically stays the same.
I mean, would that be an option in that we're, have the flood district? Then maybe what we can do is in the next year do a real deep dive, see what's working, what needs attention, what we could use the money, take money from other studies and just misappropriate so it makes sense.
So that's
just
153K,
a
right?
reminder,
Right, Steve?
we're not voting on the rate.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not voting on the
Not
rate,
voting.
but this is relevant to, which would be a
To the budget.
motion to the amended motion. So if we want to do that, we would need
So
an amendment.
to this,
I would first, if I may, you would first need to vote on this motion and close that out.
No, because I can withdraw.
Not really. I mean,
Okay.
We could say that this is relative because it goes towards the original motion was to wipe out the tax. And now Ms. Gomez is considering offering a motion to amend that motion to only reduce the levy to eliminate the 153K increase that is a result of the increase in property value, assessed property value, and establish that as what would be now minus the one or the 2.623, so that would drop it to like 2.48 or something. Did you already do the math?
Yes.
So what-
If the proposal is to reduce the flood control district's rate to have no TNT, that would equal a rate of 2.493, which would reduce the levy by $105,058. So the bottom line for the flood control district would be 2.5 million. Would you like the full number? 2,518,356.
Which is
Chairman
almost
Antonori.
no different whatsoever from 2.7.
Chairman Antonori, I think that we probably want to clean up the motion that was proposed and seconded before you move into, excuse me, before you move into Supervisor Gomez's proposal, which I think those are two
You
different.
want to just separate them?
Yeah, they're
not make
distinct
it a
enough.
Motion to make it easy?
Mr. Chair, point of order.
Yes, Mr. Crowe.
Would you be upset if I withdrew my motion that you seconded?
No, I would not.
Then I withdraw my motion.
All right. All right. Now second the withdrawal. So the motion is withdrawn. So now back to Ms. Gomez.
Okay.
So now what we're looking at, just let's get one more clarification. So 2,518,356.
356.
356. All right. So
Which is what, 100 and something rather less, 100,000 less?
153.
but it doesn't result in a,
$185,000.
it doesn't result in a tax increase. So
So if that's, they don't want a tax increase, I would just want to make sure that none of that reduction would impair us making sure that we get this port of entry, because the whole darn thing is in a flood district. I just don't know enough, unfortunately, to be able to say, yeah, sure, let's get rid of 2 million, and that's not going to have an impact on my area in a negative way, because Sierra Vista is Sierra Vista, and then we've got the rest of District 2 and 3, and we're that part of it, we're poor. There's not any economic development. We don't have industry there. That's what we have to fix before we can start knocking off all these 2 million here, 2 million there, 4 million there. I agree with you. When we have economic development, we can reduce our taxes. But right now we have to keep the situation afloat, keep it going so people, don't end up not being able to get flood insurance for their homes. And there's a whole, kind of critical connection. It's all connected. So I just want to make sure that if I sit here and say, yeah, let's get rid of $2 million, that it doesn't impact my area negatively. And I agree with you that if I can find that it doesn't,
all right,
then,
Bill.
yeah. So what am I saying?
So do you want to propose a motion to reduce what would be the budget revenue generated from that tax from 2.623 million to 2.518 million?
Yes.
Okay. So you need to,
So I move to amend
okay.
the budget that we do not increase the tax rate.
No, we're not,
Nope.
no, we're just reducing the budget. We have to set the rate.
Okay.
It's a levy.
Yeah.
Okay,
So the
so-
levy from 2.623414 down to 2518356.
So I make a motion that we move to reduce the levy from 2.623.14 to 2.518356. Is that correct?
She said point.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Two-
Yeah.
Okay, 2.62314 to 2.518356.
Million. Yeah.
Okay, $2,623,014
414.
$414 to $2,518,356.
There we go. All right. So there's the motion. Do I have a second?
You have to lower the original.
No.
thing.
No, but
I'll second it. I'll second it. All right. So we have, all right, discussion.
I have yet another motion to lower the amount levied to 1.25 million, which is half of what you guys want. And I don't know what that comes out to, but. Because,
If you could, supervisors, give us a moment, we'll clean it up for you.
okay. Because it was only going down $100,000. And that,
153,000.
okay, 150,000 to make it the same.
That's right. That's right. It results in no net tax
Right.
increase due to
Okay,
a set
so
of
let's have a net decrease and bring it down to 120 or 1.25 million, which would be a net decrease. And then we can say, we decrease the rates.
Well, that would be the final. That would be the final. Yeah, the final. So first we have the amended motion to address from Ms. Gomez. So
So do you vote on that, or do we then take his
My motion is part of the discussion on
part
the
of the
motion.
discussion?
So if I either get a second or I don't, to
I'm-
make the levy 1.25 million, which is half of what you suggested roughly. That's what's going on in my mind.
I feel like
And you still have 7.3 million that's sitting there in the cash carry forward.
I'm not going to second it. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, no, second. So we're still back
Yes.
to Ms. Gomez's motion to
James
reduce,
seconded it.
and I seconded it.
Okay.
So any further discussion on Ms. Gomez's motion? None. Okay. So the motion before the floor is an amendment to agenda item number 3 to reduce the levy from $2,623,414 down to $2,518,356. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that motion passes 3-0. Now we will go back to agenda item number 3. And agenda item number 3 will now read, adopt the final budget of Flood Control District for fiscal year 2025-26 in the amount of $9,843,356, which reflects that reduction. So that is the
Okay.
amended motion. So do I need to get that removed? Because it's been amended.
That- Like you're making the motion, somebody needs to second.
Second.
Oh, so I made the motion?
I guess you did,
Okay,
yes.
I was just asking whether or not she effectively amended it. Okay.
The levy, we just need the
so
budget
Do
clarified.
we need to redo it because it was amended? So,
We-
there was a motion to approve the flood control district budget. It was then amended by Supervisor
Correct.
Gomez. So that is done. So the new motion doesn't need to be moved. It doesn't need to be moved. It's moved.
We create a new motion, not amended, to clarify the
All right,
budget.
I'll just make everybody happy. So I will make a motion to adopt the final budget for the flood control district for fiscal year 2025-26 in the amount of $9,843,356. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. So the motion before the floor, any discussion? None. Motion before the floor is to, before the board is to amend the final budget for the flood control district for fiscal year 25-26 in the amount of $9,843,356. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I have further comment.
You want to explain your vote?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Oh, you want,
I'm going to vote yes for that.
But-
What?
we're in the middle of the vote. We're in the middle of the vote. So we vote
Aye.
aye, 3 passes 3-0. Now you're free. Go ahead.
Okay. I want to direct the treasurer to make her pie charts say flood control district instead of FCD. But I don't know where we're going to fit that in because I should have had it before discussion or while we're in discussion, right? As an
I
amendment.
think we got to put that on the agenda somewhere, right?
Sure. So Supervisor Crosby, Chairman Antonori, Supervisor Gomez, the treasurer sends out a postcard every fall with a breakdown of taxes to every taxpayer. I believe Supervisor Crosby is requesting the supervisor or the treasurer spell out flood control district on that postcard instead of FCD. And I think I can certainly relay that message.
You can what? I'm sorry.
Relay that message to the treasurer.
Does he need a second?
It's just
No, because it's too late. It should have been as part of number 3 because now we're not going to do number 4. And I thought I was on top of it, but I forgot.
Okay.
You can always add it to a future agenda. We want
Okay,
one
one
of
of these days.
All right. All right. So 3 is approved 3-0 as amended. Now we're to number 4. We will withdraw that agenda item, correct? Do we need a motion to do that?
Just delete it by your
To-
powers of the chair.
Powers of the chair? All right. Well, I guess we will eliminate 4 because we do not need a truth in taxation because we will not raise taxes overall on the flood control district. All right.
correct.
So the next meeting will be the jail district meeting. So let's adjourn from flood control. Flood control is adjourned.